Hello and welcome to Fur, Fins, and Feathers. This is our 39th episode, and today we are very happy to have Lisa White, the wonderful Swansea dog officer, and her English Mastiff, Brodie, who is having a snack.
Yeah.
Lisa, nice to see you
Nice
again.
to see you
and
again.
There's so much to talk about.
Yes.
Tell us about Brodie, who's slobbering all over the place.
I know. You're going to need a cleanup crew when he leaves. So Brodie is a 15-month English Mastiff. He's my dog. He's not available for adoption. Well, actually, he was supposed to be my husband's dog. But Brodie has grown to love me most of all. He's 15 months old. He weighs 178 pounds right now. He probably has
Big boy.
Yeah, he probably has a little bit more growing to do. His mom and dad were about 180, so he might get a little bit bigger. He is probably the easiest dog I've ever owned. He was a super good puppy. Very laid back.
Where did he come from?
My husband got him from a breeder, Reed's English Mastiffs in Acushnet.
Okay.
Yep. I call him, my husband wanted one for a long time, and that's what happens when you leave the computer open and he gets to do research. So I was not ready for another dog, especially a puppy. But he went, you know, he does things without my permission. So he got Brodie, and he was just, he's a good boy. He's the easiest puppy I've ever owned. He was really laid back, not a big chewer. He likes shoes, that's about it. Never chewed furniture.
So he's well behaved.
He is, yeah. He's easy. He's not a hyper dog. He's got a really low energy. You know, he runs around the yard a couple of times and he's tired. He likes his snacks. So the downfall to owning an English Mastiff, you can't see my pants. He drools constantly. We don't go anywhere without a drool rag. We have them all over our house in different spots. So, yep. So he's a good boy.
How does he get along with his other animals?
Fine. He likes. I take him. He was good with my dogs right away. Of course, he was a puppy when we brought him in. Most of the family wasn't too thrilled about him. The puppies in the family. It took a couple of weeks for everyone to acclimate to him. But my black lab Lola is his best friend now. Lola really disliked him the most, and now Lola really does like him. So, and he comes to the shelter. He plays with one of the dogs. We have a Fila mix available for adoption there. She does well with certain dogs. She can be dog selective, but her and Brodie actually play really nice together. So it's nice to have Annabelle be able to play with other dogs and socialize that way. And it's nice to keep Brodie socialized around other dogs as well. So
one of our other guests, Dr. Silvera, was not able to come today for an emergency because of an emergency. But he had mentioned, and we're going to talk in a future episode about the fact that many large breeds, such as Brodie, you know, their owners purchase them and they relinquish them.
Sure. Yep.
What is that? That's unfortunate trend.
They're big dogs. Unfortunately, he's got a super nice disposition.
You mentioned a Fila. That's a large breed.
She is. Yep. She's about an 85-pound dog. She was actually found as a stray. But a lot of people get them. You know, we get that a lot. People go and they purchase or they adopt these, you know, large dogs, and they don't anticipate how much they eat. Brodie eats 8 cups of food a day. They don't anticipate how much it costs for heartworm medication. Heartworm medication is expensive, and because he's 180 pounds, he's 2 heartworm pills a month. Flea medication, vet bills. He's going to go to be neutered in a couple of more months because he's a larger breed dog. The veterinarians told us it was better for him to be neutered a little bit later because of the growth plates and stuff. It's better for them. So he goes in a couple of more months to be neutered. And he's going to be anesthesia for 100 over a pound dog.
So this is an expensive proposition.
They can be, and they're known, sit, hey, sit. They're known to have, as I've never owned a Mastiff before. So as I'm starting to learn about the breed, I joined a couple of Mastiff group health forums, and I am learning that a lot of them have some health issues, some of them costly. They're prone to bloat. I'm noticing a lot of the owners have skin issues. Thank God, knock on wood, Brodie has had no skin issues. He hasn't really had any health issues at this point.
You're very fortunate.
I am fortunate because I watch this forum and I see people constantly posting about different health issues with their dogs, and some of them are costly. We try to avoid having him really run around like crazy. If he tears an ACL or something like that,
it can be expensive.
It's going to be expensive, and he'll be hard to monitor because he has to go up and down the stairs at my house. Hey, come here. Come over here.
Come on back.
Come on. Come here. Can you sit?
Okay, very good.
Sit. You want to sit? He sits on my lap.
You're a nice boy.
Yes.
Very good.
Come here. Here. So, yeah, they can be, all dogs can be expensive for sure, but, the bigger
and
they are.
Require good food.
Yep, and he, like I said, we go through a 35, 40-pound bag in probably less than a month. So, he's a big eater, and he likes his snacks, as you can see.
There's a lot going on with Brodie, but there's a lot going on too.
There is.
We
have a lot going on at the animal shelter.
At the animal shelter. What's going on there?
We had a very, very generous Somerset woman by the name of Vera Sipko donate an addition to our shelter. So for some much needed space, she is funding the whole addition project. So it was a modular. Her nephew worked with friends and stuff that he was involved with, and East Coast Modular is the company that they're working with the building.
It's a very welcome addition to the town.
It is, and it just dropped. It was amazing to watch it be set on the foundation last week. They came in with the crane, and it came in 2 pieces. And, the crane picks it up and puts it on top of the foundation. So it is on the foundation now. It is together. Mr. Megna from the modular company tells me it's about 6 weeks or so, between getting the plumbing in, the electrical, getting everything tied in. We're probably anticipating maybe a little bit longer than that. We have some painting to do inside, and moving in and sealing the floors up. So probably about 8 weeks or so, we're hoping, if everything goes by schedule, and we'll see if everything goes, then we'll be in about 8 weeks. It's beautiful. Our dog, and we're still going to utilize the area we have now, which is nice. Our dog kennel area is going to stay where that is, and we've got some improvements coming there. At the last town meeting, we were awarded money, we were given money to repair the roof, and replace the roof, replace some windows. So we're looking forward to doing some major improvements in the dog kennel area as well. But the new addition will consist of a larger office area. We'll actually have a meet and greet room where people can come in with, take out a dog from our shelter.
I couldn't help but think the other day of the bells.
Yeah. Yep.
And how diligently they worked
did. Yep.
to help to
and I think
lay the foundation.
And you know what it is from then, shelters and animals have just grown. Back then it was you needed a few shelters, a few kennels to house a few dogs. you know, until their owners came to pick them up. And it's grown. Cats are definitely, we always talk about cats are a much bigger issue in town. We get many more cats than we do dogs.
Talk
more
about
kittens.
that. That's, you know, Dr. Silvera and I were talking.
Yeah.
That is a big problem in town.
And thankfully, with the new addition, we'll actually have a cat room too. So we'll have an actual room where the cats can roam free. Instead of, you know, staying in cages a good part of the day, they'll actually have a room that they can be free roaming. Along with our meet and greet room. We have a lot more storage space, new handicap accessible bathroom, which is nice. So we're looking forward because cats, you know, we get into, we're going into March, starting, you know, a little bit now through October, we're inundated with kittens. So it's important to have room for them because we don't like to turn them away, because they might end up back out on the street and just reproducing again. So spay neuter for cats is really important, and Donna with Project Spay does a great job with helping us and helping other communities, and, you know, even if it's just TNR, getting them fixed and putting them back out. If they're feral and they can't acclimate to people or living inside, at least they're not reproducing outside and, you know, having kittens and kittens and kittens born throughout the year.
You've got to break that cycle.
You do, yeah. And we're fortunate. We normally have kittens come in, and before they're even ready to go home, they have approved adopters ready, waiting to leave. So it'll be nice to have that space because along with the cat room, we're going to be able to utilize part of the shelter that we're in now as more of a cat quarantine area. So when the kittens come in with the upper respiratories, not everybody's sharing the same room. Before, we kind of just housed everybody together if we didn't have a foster available. So it'll be nice to have that separate space for the kittens coming in. Sometimes the pregnant moms, they like a quiet area, so we'll have that. So we're looking forward between, you know, the shelter we have now and the new addition. It's going to be nice to have that space.
Very good. What are some other issues? And I know we just went through the wild turkeys.
Yep. And we'd like to remind everyone, with the warm weather coming up, you and I were talking about ticks.
Ticks?
Ticks are out. I was just telling you, we were at a meeting the other day, and my supervisor had one crawling on him. Picked a few off the dogs. So it's really important, you know, to keep dogs and cats on flea and tick prevention.
And
all
that's
year.
a whole
all
year long.
Yeah, all year. You know, it's been a mild winter, but even, you know, in the real cold winters, you'll see if you get a snap of just warm weather for a few days, those ticks come right out. And, you know, you don't want to end up with a dog that has Lyme disease. It's treatable, but, you know, again, it's a cost, it's an expense, and it can run into problems if not treated. So flea and tick prevention all year, and heartworm all year. I have a lot of people tell me that they treat for heartworm just through mosquito season. It's important to keep your dog on heartworm year round. Heartworm is very expensive to treat, so that's definitely one. It's much cheaper to keep them on heartworm medicine than it is to treat them for heartworm if they end up with it. So definitely that's another yearly thing that you want to keep your pet on.
Someone recently asked me about, they said, with the rising cost of, you know, just taking care of their kids and stuff, how can they provide quality pet care for their animals and not, you know, they're not looking for something for nothing.
Sure.
But they are low cost.
Sure.
How can they do that?
You know, there are some lower cost vets out there. There's some, you know, you can do. It's always good to get your dog at least a yearly checkup. But, you know, if that's not a doable thing, because it truly just isn't in the budget, Tractor Supply, Petco, they all run rabies clinics every other weekend usually. So you know, that's not a bad idea.
No, Tractor Supply is right up the road here.
Yep.
They have different programs.
Yes, they do. And that's not a bad idea. You know, it certainly is a lower cost option. There's low cost clinics. We're looking forward to hopefully next year. The Board of Health and I were talking about, we didn't get it done this year, but next year hosting a rabies clinic in March over at the animal shelter for the residents, which is great. That's always, you know, because the rabies vaccine is mandated by law. So everyone is required, cats, dogs, and ferrets, to have a rabies vaccine. So we're looking to do that. Purchasing pet insurance, it is a monthly charge, and there's a lot of different companies out there. Some of them, you know, go by a scale, so you can kind of pick and choose. It's like what you want your insurance to cover, your deductible. Based on that, you know, your premiums are adjusted.
He's having fun.
He'll just do this all day. One of my friends and volunteers at the shelter has pet insurance on her German Shorthair Pointer, and she's had some issues that she's run into, and she will tell you 100 times over that maybe $30, $40-ish a month has paid off for her enormously.
Yes, I know her.
So,
yes.
Right. So, you know, it is, you know, you can look into it that it is a monthly bill, but it is beneficial if you run into something, maybe not just annual vet care, but if, you know, you have a dog that needs emergency surgery, or you have a dog that, you know, has something, bloat, that needs to be treated immediately.
There are a lot of elderly people who have to relinquish their pets.
There are.
Because they cannot afford it.
There are.
They can't afford the care.
There are.
And I tell people, consult your veterinarian and work with him or her.
And there are, you know, I think there are many, many vets that if you're a client and you've been a client for years, if you go to your vet and say, you know, I know a few vets who will help out and just say, okay, let's work out a plan, or putting a tiny bit of money away every month too, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be pet insurance, like a savings plan helps. And like you said, trying to work with your vet so you don't have, no one wants to see anyone have to relinquish, you know, their pet. It's the hardest thing in the world to do. It's devastating to the pet, it's devastating to the owner. So if you're fortunate that you can find someone who will work with you on that, you know, that's amazing.
And that's important.
It is.
For the animal's care and the well-being of the animal. The animal and the owner.
Sure.
Another a question that I received recently. Can you address the issue of Fisher cats?
Yeah, we had someone call the other night. Somerset woke me up at about 11 o'clock at night. They said they had a call. Someone thought, well, they called it in as a cat that was making noise. When I called the lady, she said there was something out in her wooded area that sounded like a baby screaming, which most likely wasn't a cat. It was.
Oh, there he goes.
It was okay. It was probably a Fisher. They make a very, very unique,
eerie sound.
It's eerie, yeah. I've heard a couple in my neighborhood this year, not too many, and we haven't gotten a ton of calls on them, but they're out there. They don't really bother anyone, people-wise. You know, they'll just keep to themselves. They you know, they're just out looking.
They can be vicious.
They can be, yes. I mean, I would never recommend if someone saw one to try to go up and go near it, but you know, they're looking for food too, and they can be tough animals. So
coyotes and other creatures.
Knock on wood, pretty quiet this year so far. That being said, we're not in the spring yet, so we're not into mating season is now. So you know, definitely small pets, cats, small dogs. Something that you really want to watch because they tend to be out more and a little more aggressive during mating season. So, and pretty soon those pups will be born and we'll start getting the calls because the babies don't realize they're not supposed to be playing in, you know, your backyard. So they come out a little bit more.
Coming toward the house.
Sure, yeah, they'll, you know, mom will sit somewhere, foxes especially. Foxes more than coyotes. You know, mom will lay under somebody's shed. They tend to have their babies under people's sheds a lot, and then, you know, the babies get to the age where they're out and walking around, and, you know, mom's laying under the shed and the babies are coming out playing in the backyard, and, you know, the phone starts ringing off the hook. We tell people to just kind of make some noise if they've made a nest in your yard, you know, if they've made a den in your yard somewhere, and you don't want them there. When you see them around, make some noise. Blow a whistle, air horns, pot and pan covers. Make them uncomfortable.
People need to educate children, too.
Yes, yes.
They're not little animals to play with.
And, you know, most of the time, even though they're babies and they don't know better, they typically won't allow a human to approach. We don't see that too often. But again, not to say one might not be in the yard injured. You never want to, you know, you want to teach your kids, you never go touch any animal you don't know, dog, cat, and wildlife especially, because it can be dangerous. So, you know, it's important to teach your kids. If you see something of that in the yard, you know, come get mom, dad, or an adult and say, come see what's out in the backyard.
And he's having fun.
He's getting antsy. He has a very short attention span.
And he eats how many cups a day?
8 cups of food a day.
And a few snacks.
And a few, well, yeah, you can see we've kind of gone through my, my volunteer friends who are probably going to watch this episode are probably cringing at all the treats he's getting. A lot of them are very, very conscious about weight control.
How do you keep him in shape?
He's young. And you don't want him to get overweight, you know, because he is a big dog. So I try to encourage my husband, who likes to feed them table food, not to give them snacks. Come here. Come over here. Come on. Come on. Not
Has
to
he
give
been
him
obedience trained?
No, not yet. We work on it at home a little bit. I told my husband he should take him to class, but he doesn't. And he's listens to a degree. The dog I got from the shelter in 2011, my Fila, is probably the most obedient dog I've ever had. And she came from the shelter. She's outrageously obedient.
Really?
Yeah. And she always was. No training, just she is obedient. Here, hey, 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 hey.
What are some of the dogs that you have available at the shelter
right now? We've got, we have Annabelle. She is a Portuguese Fila mix. Annabelle just requires a quiet adult-only home. We have a 2.5-year-old male pit bull mix who does require to be the only pet in the home. Older children, he's super friendly, but he's working on his manners. So jumping and stuff, he's learning not to do that. He's actually going to class again with Handsome Dan Rescue in Rhode Island. So he's part of their pit class. He goes every Saturday to class. He's available. And then I have a 5-year-old pit bull mix who is, again, needs to be the only pet in the home, but she's 5 years old, love bug. No small children. Small children make her a little nervous, but super, super nice dog. Very easy.
Why are these dogs being really relinquished?
Let's see. Annabelle was a stray, so we never really had a history on her and why. But what we saw from Annabelle when she first came in, behavior-wise, someone wasn't nice to her. She takes a long time to warm up to people. The first week we had her, if she felt any tension on her collar, it took us a week to get a collar on her. And then once we started walking her, if she felt any tension, she would just fall to the ground and cry. If you kind of patted her on the bum, she would flatten out and scream. So someone wasn't too nice to her. She's since come to, like the volunteers, she's comfortable with the people she knows. New volunteers, it takes her a little time to warm up. We just had a new volunteer start a while ago, and she goes out for walks and rides with Syl. She likes Syl now. So we try to keep them doing things that normal, everyday house dogs do. Max was a pit bull who was surrendered to us because he was fighting he started fighting with the other dog in the house. The other dog would start it, but he was much bigger. Unfortunately, they neutered him too late. He should have been neutered right away, and he wasn't. So that may have kept him in the home maybe. But he's super sweet, loves people. He'll just wash your face. All he wants to do is kiss, 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 kiss. And Cora was actually found as a stray originally. We adopted her out a while ago, and her and the other dog just weren't getting along that well, so she came back for that reason.
How do people become volunteers?
It's coming down, filling out an application. I've been telling, we actually have a stack of new volunteers who've signed up, and I'm telling them, in a few weeks we'll start making phone calls because we'll be adding more volunteers to the program. Once we have some more space, we're definitely going to utilize more volunteers. What are some of
the things that people can do to volunteer?
Oh, there's so much.
There are many things.
There are. They can come to the shelter. We have some volunteers who just specifically deal with the dogs, walking, taking them out in the backyard, playing with them. Once they're a trained volunteer, certain dogs are allowed to leave property and go out for walks and rides. Cleaning, there's always cleaning to do. Lots of cleaning. Laundry, we do laundry all day. Socializing cats. We have some that come in and they're really scared and need socializing. Keeping the kittens socialized.
I take them all.
I know,
home.
They're so cute. I've got one cute kitten there now who's waiting to go home. We have 2 big, yard sales a year. Our next yard sale, May 31st.
Very successful.
Yep. That's the next one coming up. So we're hoping to be in the new building by then and be able to, show people the new building. But so we have some volunteers who strictly just volunteer for those events. When the warmer weather comes, we go out to Tractor Supply has events. Somerset Open Air does stuff. We get invited to a lot of different things, so we look for volunteers to man
help
tables.
out.
Yeah, to maybe take some dogs, take some cats. It's a lot of moving around on those days. When you're taking the cats, you're loading them in crates and taking them, and tables, and getting them set up. Who can give a dog a ride there? So we always look for that.
Monetary donations are always welcome.
Monetary donations are always welcome. We're also planning the Board of Health building, who's up in in the annex building from us, who we work under. They're planning a health fair June 13th, I believe.
We'll have to talk about that.
It's going to be over at the annex. And we're hoping, I've contacted a couple of vets, we're hoping to incorporate a pet health day into that as well.
Excellent.
So if we can get someone on board, we're hoping to be able to maybe do some microchipping, some nail clipping, if any, some brochures. Hoping to contact maybe a couple of insurance companies, maybe with pet insurance, to see if they'd like to be there. So we're looking to do that as well.
Well, thank you very much for having us
You're
again.
welcome.
And having Brodie.
Thank you for having Brodie.
And Brodie was fine, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to have Dr. Silvera next time, and we'd like to have you come back.
Sure.
Thank you very much, and
thank you.
Have a good day,
You too.
everyone.
Good boy. You were so good.